Today we're talking about the Nikon 35mm 1.8S lens for the Nikon Z mount and why I think it's an absolute banger of a lens. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? My name is Jeremy Gray and welcome back to another video. Now, the Nikon 35 1.S for the Z mount is in no way a new lens, but it's relatively new to my kit. I've owned it for less than a year, so I figured it's time to make a video about this lens because I do love it so dang much. The video you're currently watching is being shot on the 35mm. It looks great, in my opinion. I mean, it's a very standard lens, but the quality is there. Alright, so let's go over some features of this lens. It's of course a 35mm focal length, which is a very classic focal length. It's very close to what our eyes naturally see, so it's going to be a very familiar field of view. This lens's maximum aperture is f1.8 down to f16, which is a great range in my opinion. I don't personally need 1.4, 1.2. The 1.8 gets the job done, especially on the Nikon Z6 and Z6 II. The high ISO capabilities are fantastic. Having that 1.8 also keeps the lens a lot smaller. Now, the design of the lens is pretty straightforward. It's basically just one gigantic focus ring with an automatic and manual toggle on the side, and then other than that, it's all branding. Now, that big focus ring is kind of useful. It can override your autofocus, as well as you can custom set it to other stuff such as aperture, exposure values, ISO, shutter speed, really whatever you want. That's great for some people. I don't personally use it, but I like that the option is there in case I ever want to set my ISO to that. It might be very handy. The lens is apparently weather sealed. I have used it in the rain and in the snow, so I can sort of attest to that, but only time will tell. It also has a metal mount, which is of course nice. No one really wants a plastic dinky mount on their lens. The autofocus on this lens is super fast and super quiet. You really shouldn't encounter any problems. When shooting video, you should not hear anything. For photos and stills, those are the same thing. It's very fast, and for video, it's also fast, especially on the Z6 II with the newest firmware, which this video is being shot on, and I love it so far. I'm not gonna go super duper deep into autofocus, but I do just wanna say the Nikon cameras autofocus a lot faster and a lot better than most people on the internet like to make you think. I'm not so sure why Nikon receives so much hate, but my Z6 never gave me any issues with autofocus. Sometimes if it was really low light, it would bounce around and be a little confused. And now with the Z6 II and the new updated firmware, it works so smooth. It's night and day. I thought the Z6 was fine, but now having the Z6 II with the updated firmware, the autofocus is so fast, especially with these beautiful Z lenses. Now, don't quote me on this, but this might be Nikon's sharpest 35mm to date. It's really sharp corner to corner, and I know sharpness is definitely not everything, but it's really nice to know that you have a sharp lens. Sharpness pretty much matters across the board, whether you're shooting portraits, travel-related stuff, landscapes. It really does matter to a point, so having a lens that is nice and sharp, especially corner to corner, if you're doing those landscapes, is super, super nice. I think this lens is a fantastic choice for you video shooters out there. Ever since acquiring this lens into my kit, I basically shot all my YouTube content exclusively on this lens. I have no problem using just this lens for pretty much all the stuff that I shoot. Actually, before moving to Guam, I sold my other lenses. I sold my 60-35, I sold my 70-100, I sold the 50mm. All I had was this lens and two old manual focus lenses, an old 85 and an old 105 that were manual focus on the Z bodies, no autofocus. So this was my primary lens for photo and for video. 35mm is just a very flattering focal length. It doesn't really distort your subject's face all that much, even if you get super close to the camera. Nothing like a wider angle lens like a 20 or 16mm would do. This lens gets you a variety of shots for the video that you're shooting. You can get close-ups, but you can also get environmental shots and wide stuff. It's really versatile in that sense. Plus, with the 1.8 and the low light capabilities that you get out of a prime lens that you can't typically find in a zoom lens, you're just doing good. Doing well. Now, is this lens gonna be good for the vlogger? I don't know. Let's cut over to Vlog Jeremy over at the beach and see what he has to say. All right, Beach Jeremy checking in with you all. So you don't really usually want something around 35mm for vlogging. It's usually not wide enough for most people's taste. I'm holding this camera all the way out at full arm's length, and you know, you see me, it's a little bit cropped, you see some of the background. Typically though, people want a wider lens for vlogging, such as a 20, 16, 14 even. There's something much wider so you can really get a feel for the area, and I'm gonna switch over to 14mm right now just to show you how different it looks. All right, so now I've got 14mm on my camera. This is the 14-30 f4S lens, and look how much more field of view you get. Like, I'm at arm's length just like with the 35, except look how much you can see compared to the 35. It's quite amazing, honestly. I love this lens. I just got it today. So amazing, super cool, perfect for vlogging. Much better for most people's taste for vlogging than something like a 35 or even like 28, 24. Sometimes too tight for people. And the cool thing about something super wide like 14 or 16 is you can bring the camera closer to you, still have a good field of view, but the mic is now closer to you and your mouth. It's going to be much cleaner audio. So I highly recommend using something a little bit wider for vlogging, but just know that you can vlog with just the 35 if you had to and if you only had that one lens. As I already mentioned, this lens is super sharp corner to corner, so that in turn does make it pretty good for photography. This focal length is so classic and it allows you to capture such a variety of shots from your shoot. Whether it's, like I said, wide shots, environmental portraits, close-up portraits, you can really do it all with this lens. It's wonderful. You just gotta move your feet a little bit. Stop being lazy with the zoom lens. Just move your feet. I really do look forward to the day when we can travel normally again. I can bring this lens around the world and use it for city stuff, for landscape stuff, for portrait stuff, just literally everything. If I'm gonna go out, I can see it already. I'm gonna have just this lens on my camera. If I'm like, I'm just gonna go out for the day with like one lens, just one lens, man. It's gonna be this lens. It's not gonna be a 50, it's not gonna be an 85, it's gonna be a 35. And with that 1.8 aperture, you're gonna be able to shoot at pretty much any time of the day. No, you're not gonna be able to shoot in complete darkness. But if you can find a light source like a street lamp or there's neon signs where you are or whatever the case may be, the 1.8 is going to really help you out in getting those really cool night shots. There's not much to say about this lens. It's just a fantastic lens. It does what it's meant to do. It's a classic focal length. It's super versatile. It's super lightweight. Yes, this one model in particular is a bit on the pricier side, but they are more capable than their 1.8G counterparts for the F-mount. They really are. These new ones combined with these Z-bodies are fantastic. This lens is amazing. If you own a Nikon Z body and you don't own this lens, I would highly consider checking it out. So there you have it. That's my take on the Nikon 35mm f1.8S lens for the Nikon Z mount. I love this lens and I love the route that Nikon is taking with their new Z mount lenses. I just got the 85 1.8S in the mail last week and I am absolutely loving it so far. Stay tuned for a video about that one. Nikon makes fantastic cameras, fantastic lenses. Don't let anybody on the internet tell you otherwise, and no, this video is not sponsored by Nikon. But if you are curious about any of the gear that I use to make my videos, like my lights, my mics, my cameras, my lenses, my tripods, there'll be links for those down in the description. They're Amazon affiliate links. If you click them, they bring you over to Amazon. If you buy anything, I get a small commission at no extra charge to you. Just helps the channel keep growing. That's it for this one, everybody. Be sure to hit that like button, be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell for the notifications. Leave a comment down below, tell me what's up, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Thanks, bye.